And before I start, I take this opportunity to thank the principal of Shri Sathya College of Nursing and my principal for giving me this opportunity to present and have an interaction with you all regarding as how to publish a book and be a self-publisher. So the next slide, please. So in short, I'll be just giving you an overview about as what is the types of book publications and why do we have to publish, and in what ways or the forms like we can publish, then with whom we can publish, and how to publish it. Next slide, please. So we all know that book, it is the medium through which the recorded information is being charted down either in the form of writing or in the form of a pictures or an image. And it consists of quite number of pages which are binded together and well protected with the cover. And this is a written work that is traditionally been printed and bounded for commercial distribution. And as looking into what is publisher, a book publisher is a group or a person who is responsible for bringing the book to the public for reading purpose. The publisher is the one who is going to facilitate our intellectual property to reach to the public. So the next slide, please. We look into what are the different types of book publications that are available. Next slide, please. We have a broader 3 classifications. You can just press, yeah. You can just give one more click, ma'am. Yeah. So there are 3 types of publications. One is traditional, the other type is self-publications, third one is the hybrid type. Looking into what is the traditional publication. Actually, the traditional book publishing is when a publisher is when the publisher offers the author a contract and in turn prints or publishers or help in selling our book through the booksellers. That is called traditional. Like someone else is helping us in bringing our book to the public. So here, what is the role of the author is the author just prepares the content and he or she will be giving his intellectual content or the property to the seller, to the publisher. So the second person is the one who takes up solely the complete responsibility of editing, printing, putting into a market or selling or a distribution. So complete risk the publisher is taking up. The third person, the next person is taking, not the author. So that is the traditional publication. Next is the second type is self-publication. When we look into what is this self-publication is individual. Like we don't have a publisher who is helping us in taking up all this editing our manuscript or printing it out or going for selling. We ourselves do it. It is individual effort. And the third type is hybrid. Hybrid is the mixture of both the way the traditional and self-publication is involved. Yeah. Next slide, please. So coming in, looking into what is the advantage of the traditional publishing. Actually, I'm quite familiar with the traditional publishing, but little bit I'm aware of what is self-publishing. And most of the books that which I have published is only with the help of the publishers. I have done it. So there are a lot of benefits when we look into the traditional publishing. That is the most advantage is that the publisher is the one who will invest the money. So we need not worry about any business that we start, we need to have money. But for this, the publisher takes up the full sole responsibility of investing the money, and he takes up the complete risk. Either it goes for a complete selling or the ending of the books is there or it's for a loss. The complete risk is shouldered onto the publisher, and he does the printing, he does the plagiarism checking, and he does the final book shape, the software which is required for making the content in a book shape. So everything, the responsibility lies onto a publisher. So the author need not worry about all those things. And the publisher takes up the responsibility in distribution also. So he takes the product of the authors and he sell it to the booksellers and distribute it. And even putting into a market also, it is the publisher who takes up the responsibility. And of course, the author do have a benefit in this because they do get a royalty for the number of books that is being sold. And what is there are quite some disadvantages also. We also have some drawbacks when we are looking into a traditional publishing. The greatest drawback we have looked into is our proposal has to be accepted. Uh, if we look into the publishers, all the content of the authors, whatever we give it to the publishers might not accept it. They do have their own proposal format, and the proposal format we have to give the our write-up in such a way that we satisfy the publishers, then only it will be accepted. So the proposal have to be accepted by the publishers, and we have to invest a lot of time in it because we will have to prepare the manuscript. First, our proposal has to be approved, and for which we have to invest a lot of time. And not only we as author, but when it goes to the traditional publishers, they take minimum 1 or 2 years for our books to be published. And complete ownership is with the publishers, it is not with the authors. So our intellectual property rights we are giving to them, and it is not with the authors. The copyright also we give it to them. And other disadvantage, we can say it in other way as we don't have a marketing control. It means that we might be writing a textbook related to medical surgical nursing, and we know which year this would be put up into a market, means like which year this book is required, or with which region of India, maybe South zone they buy it more, or the North zone they buy it more. The marketing, the exact picture of who is wanted of our book, we are much familiar than the publishers. So sometimes the marketing control, since we are not having it, it can also take the role of having a drawback in the traditional publishing. Next slide, please. For the self-publishing, sorry, the previous one. Coming to the self-publishing, we do have some of the advantages and disadvantages. Ma'am, previous slide. Yeah. So in self-publishing also, we do have some benefits and drawbacks. The benefits, when we look into it, the author is having a complete right to the intellectual property of her own, and the royalty is also much, much better. Royalty means like we get some sort of incentives for every book that is being published or it's been sold. Some percentage will be given by the publishers to the authors. That is the royalty. And the authors do have a complete freedom. So they can choose like what is the style of the manuscript they want, what is the shape of the book they wanted, how many number of pages it is required, and what is the cover page, color it can be of. So complete freedom, and with which platform that I can sell it out. So complete freedom the author has in self-publishing. And it is easy to put into a market because only the self individual is doing. Very quickly we can put it into a sale. But when it comes to a traditional publishing, it takes minimum 1 year to 2 months for one book to be out. And we do have a complete market control. Coming into looking for the drawbacks, some of the drawbacks, like it is the time-consuming process. Really, it's a very time-consuming process because most of us are not familiar with the self-publishing areas. We first should study what is all about it, and every process individually we should do. So it takes a lot of time, and sometimes we might be in need of a person to help us in terms of professionals like technicians, technical people, not technicians, technical people. So hiring them or taking up to help them in our field for publishing it, we need to pay them. Sometimes it becomes expensive. And complete risk is on to us. Either the book is being sold or it is being kept, it is on to us. So now looking into why we have to publish. Next slide, please. Why we have to publish? Because it is the experience. Like I started doing the publication of books in the year 2008. So when I finished my PG in 2005, I was working in 2008. Only I started doing the work for the book publications. But the thought of me going for a publication has arisen when I was doing my PG, especially when I was getting ready for the seminar content, because we were hunting for the books. We were having like general education. So for general educations, we had very few number of books. And so we used to go to MBA, means like B.Ed colleges for referring the textbooks. So that is there where the idea I got it. Why there are very few books are available, but still those portions are there in our field. And thereafter, when I started teaching the same community education technology for the students, that is nursing education, I felt like there is a need for some sort of an reference that we required in nursing field. That's how that my personal experience made me to write few books. So each individual will have their own experience that they want to share it up. And rest is about the recent trends. Like recently we had a COVID, but if you look into medical surgical textbooks, we don't have the recent outbreaks. Either it is endemic, pandemic, whatever it is. So it is the chance like when there is a book revision is going on, we can have recent statistics that can be updated or recent new disease conditions that can be updated, or we want to make the book which is more friendly for students as an academic point of view, less syllabus based, then we can go for a book publications. And of course, then each individual, when they publish a book, credit goes to the individual, their institute, and of course to their family members. So they do have a credit in publishing, or the way the peers respect them also is different. So definitely there is a credit as why we go for publishing the books. The next slide, please. So the ways or in which forms that we can publish the books. Next slide, please. So there are broadly two. So there are two ways that we can publish the books. So with whom then we can publish the books? Next slide, please. We can have either at the international level publishers, like state or regional level or national level publishers. Like national level publishers, we all of us quite are familiar with JP Brothers, who is well-known, renowned medical publishers in India. And international publishers, we do have lot, Elsevier's, Lippincott, Walters, lots are there. So there are, we should first familiarize with whom we want to publish our content. So broadly, we say as national level publishers and international level publishers. Next, coming to how to publish the book. So next slide, please. So when we look into how we can publish the book, these are the points like I have charted down. There are these are my own personal experience. I have charted down as how we can go for publishing the books. The first one is self or being a co-author or being a contributor. So first we should decide whether I want to write a book by myself as individual author, or do I want to have a co-author? Say, for example, if I am writing a textbook on medical surgical nursing, and if I have 15 chapters, I want to divide between co-authors, and maybe two authors I have. So 7 she's taking and 7 I'm taking, which I'm familiar with. So in such a way, also we can do a book publication. And if you feel that there are quite a lot of portions and so many experts are there, we can get a lot of inputs. If different experts are there, we can pull in and put it into a very good shape for a book. If you think like that, then we can have a lot of contributors. But those people are, we say, as a contributors, ultimately the authors and co-authors. When we take any textbook, we say like a single author will be there, or one or two authors will be there. Very rare, like more than two authors will be there as the author, but there will be quite a lot of number of contributors. So the first step is that we should select either being an individual author or being pairing with the co-authors, or are we going to contribute a chapter. The second step is we have to select to which publisher that we want to publish our. So we have to choose either first regional level, national level publisher I wanted, or international level publishers I wanted. So then we have to start approaching them. We should get their contact number and we have to interact with them, and they will be sending their proposal. There is a proposal. Every publishers will be having their proposal. I will give you the examples also. So their proposal has to be prepared, submitted to them, and they will be sending it to a review committee. The review committee will go through it, and once if they feel that it is satisfied, then they come for the agreement. So they will mutual agreement will be between the authors and the publishers, like what are the rights that the authors are having. Yeah. So then we'll have a mutual agreement, and then we do also have a copyright. Then we'll come for, once the agreement is being made, then we do come for the content preparation. So the content preparation is between two people. Means like if it is two people co-authors, means two people will be having the content preparation, and the time period will be given either 1 year or 2 years. Then submission of the manuscript. So after the end of the 1 year, everything will be having a deadline. So based on the deadline, like say for example, if it is a 1 year project, then the one chapter will be finished in 1 month, or two chapters will be finished in 1 month. So there will be a deadline. So by the end of 1 year, the manuscripts will be submitted to the publishers, and the first draft. Yeah, you can submit the manuscript. You can have a drafting, editing, and the plagiarism checking, and we can have a review. So coming into this draft, first draft, after they'll send us the draft, we will have to go through it, and then we'll have to check for any editing to be done. If the author feels comfortable that she herself can edit it, she can do it. Otherwise, if she needs to have the help of the editors, then she can get it. Then the content has to be checked for the plagiarism, and most of the time the plagiarism rate is only 2% to 5%. And then after content, the plagiarism check is being done. It also will be given to the reviewers. Like 5 to 10 reviewers will be go through our entire book, and a constructive criticism we will receive from the reviewers. And if we feel that those things are all very genuine, then we'll try to incorporate it, looking into what is the suggestions that is given by the reviewers. So these are the main steps as how we go for publishing a book. Next is the proposal formats of one national proposal formats from JP Brothers. The other one is from the Elsevier's. I have brought it here. So the JP publishers, they do have their book proposal form where we have to write the name of the author, from which region we are coming from. Either it is from Tamil Nadu state or from Puducherry or whatever state region we are. We have to write our few personal details. We have to write mail ID, phone number, from our contact address. Next slide, please. And we have to give the title for our book. Here I have just given you one example, like a clinical guide for medical surgical nursing for the postgraduate program nursing students. And the question is here, the next proposal is it a UG textbook? The answer is no. Is it a PG textbook? Yes. And reference, whether the question is whether we can use that book as a reference. We can just give either we want it as a reference or no. And about the book, the synopsis, we have to give it in 100 words. It's an abstract we should give. And the target audience, it is the, here it is the MSc postgraduate nursing students and doing their specialty. And the author, when we look at it, is the author is myself, and example I have charted on here. And suppose if you want the co-authors, then we can mention the co-author name, and adding on the contributors, whomever you feel like you want to add, you can add their contributors' names. And suppose if we have any publications earlier done, then those details also can be added up here. Either the author or the co-author, their details can be given here. whatever the books they have published. Next slide, please. So next is how, this is the very important point, catchy point, like how different is your book that would be from the other titles which are available in the market on similar topic. So we have to justify why we are bringing this book into the market. So maybe justifications we can do that. It is an INC syllabus based. So far, there is no textbook available in the market as per the INC syllabus based for the postgraduate program. This is all in one book because which includes all terminologies, normal values, common drafts, clinical formats, and evaluation formats, and some of the nursing procedures, drug calculations, the instruments being used, and also an highlight of it, question and answers also being included. So this clinical guidebook will cover all the requirements of the students in one nutshell. And we also have to give the physical arrangements, how are we going to do for our book. So the information about the title, like page extension, we should be either it is 300 pages or 500 pages approximately, and what a number of illustrations that we are going to use, either it is 10, 5 or 20, and photographs. We also should give how many photographs that we are going to use, the total photographs, black and white how many, and colored how many we should give. So black and white for this book plan is 50, and whereas the color picture is, it is 30. And here we are enclosing the actual ones is the model chapter 1. Means chapter 1 is any sample model we have to enclose and send it to them. And the manuscript delivery date is 3 to 6 months from the date of approval of our proposal. We can give a deadline like how long that we want the time to take our book to be prepared. So that date we can give it. Since it's a procedural, we have given the time period as 3 to 6 months. But if it is a textbook, it takes a minimum of 1 year for preparing the content. So the next slide, please. Yeah, what is the right time to publish the book? So as an author, we can very well say which month this book can be out. Usually we say it can be in the month of June to August, because August is the academic year. So May or June, we expect the book to be out. And does your book has any potential of selling to the pharma companies? Of course, nursing books, we don't have such an idea, so we charters no. Has your content been checked for plagiarism? Then we can say yes if it is so. Then information on competing titles, like if there are any competing books, then we can mention yes. If not, we can say as no such titles been so far. And who is the author, their details we can chart it down. Their name, their affiliations, their address, communications, their mail ID. So this is the exact proposal form for the JB Brothers publications. And this proposal we have to prepare along with this formats. We also should submit one model chapter to them. So after, next slide please. After this proposal is being prepared, after it's been submitted to the JP Medical publishers, we will get a response from them. Like, okay, we are considering your proposal, and maybe you have to give us a period of 3 to 5 weeks to go through, which has to be submitted to the editorial review board, and we'll be getting back to you with the feedback from the committee. So that's how we get a reply after we submit our proposal. Next is about the Elsevier. So Elsevier also has their own proposal format. So like how we are having for the research, any research that we want to do with, we are having a research proposal presentation for the students, right? So we charted down as what we want, the methodology, how we want to go. Same like their proposal format, it goes like this. Next slide, please. So their proposal is like title and the proposal, because they give it, everything is in the box. We need not separately type it in a Word document. The same format we can take it up. We can just start inserting the content in the box. So here we have to mention the title, the author or the editor, their details we have to give. The next slide, please. Our current appointment, and they also ask for any experience that they have in writing the books, if so, those details. And publications in the journals also they have asked, and contributors. So preferably the Elseviers will say likely the contributors to be hold on, but still if there are contributors, they welcome them with their full credit to be included. But as much as possible, they ask us to give a full details of the contributors. But they tell us not to approach them until the Elsevier is giving us the permission. Next slide, please. Yeah. The book outline. So in the book outline, we have to give the details as what is the provisional title of your proposed book, and what is the aim and scope of having this book. And we also should give in a nutshell the synopsis of the projects, like within 100 words we have to give. And we also should give them the target, for whom this book is being targeted, either the primary market and the secondary market. If it is like if we are releasing a book for BSc nursing students third year, they become our primary market. And secondary market is like the same textbook sometimes can be used by nurses when they are working in the clinical area. So maybe sometimes it can be a secondary market. Next slide, please. And there are also the questions being asked, like why do you believe that this book is needed? So we have to justify, because already into a market we will have a lot of books being available for some particular subjects. But how different is our book? That is the justification that we should give it to the publishers. Only then it will be accepted. Then will it be an essential reading? It means that whether this book will be bought by every student as a textbook, or will it be only a reference? So that comment also we should give. And will it be a recommended or only a supplementary reading? Then we also give at LCA, they are very clever. They also ask in advance, like which is the competing books in the market for the same subjects. So we also have to give them the details about whether, say, for example, when we say Joyce and Black, the competing book is Brunner Lewis. So we should give what is the strength of Brunner, what is the weakness of the Brunner, and about the details that is available in online. Similarly for the Lewis. So we have to give the competing books list also to them. And the physical parameters, like how many birds are included in this book, how many line diagrams, whether black and white photographs, how many number, color photographs, how many tables that we are going to include, any illustrations that we are going to include, like flow charts or anything. Then how long will it take for the editor to get ready with the content? So specification also we should give them. And looking into evaluation of the proposal, so the team also will get the content from us, and they will be looking. So all these details along with the checklist of whatever they have asked for, with one model chapter. Uh, Sometimes you also can submit two or three. They must be asking for two or three, but it is like, because it takes a lot of time for us to prepare two or three chapters. It is good at least with one or two chapters we submit our proposal for them to have a glance of our proposal. And if once it's been submitted and if they are satisfied, then they will get back to us. They also take minimum 4 to 6 weeks to go through the proposal, because it also has to go to committee, and the committee will have to approve. And if it's been accepted, then they'll get back to us. So this is the format for the proposal format for the Elsevier. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Ma'am, can you please display the next slide? Next, please. Yeah. So once our proposal, if it has been submitted and if it has been accepted, then an agreement will be made between the publishers. And once the agreement is being made, we have a time frame work. Like how we say, for one child to be born, we need to have at least 8 to 9 months. So we say ideally 1 year, like that. Say like that, one book, if it has to come out, we need to have minimum of 1 year for the book to be out in a productive way. So we take a year for the content to be prepared. Then we submit it to the publishers. So publishers, what they do is, after our content is being submitted, they will be sending us the proofreading. Means they will be sending us the content, draft content. We'll have to go through it and we'll have to check the proofreading. So here is a sample of the proofreading. The Joyce and Black, the Southeast Asia edition, second revisions we have submitted now recently. So that is the picture that I'm projecting here. So in that proofreading, like after that is an adaptations work we have done. So here everything you will get through online. So here you have the location in the chapter is saying that AU1 page 3. The question, the query that they have asked is, you are responsible for the accuracy of all drug dosages contained in this chapter, and please confirm that all the drug dosages are correct. And here in the right side, you can see that a click is being done. It means that the author is fully responsible for the dosage of the drugs that is being mentioned. And in the same page also, they have given a comment that note that both patients and clients are used in this chapter. So please check what should be followed for the maintaining consistency. So, like next slide, please. Yeah, here you can see, right? AU01, AU02. So that AU02 is the word of patients or clients. So the author can decide whether the word the patient can be used or client can be used in a textbook. But it has to be consistent. It has to be throughout, uniform throughout the books. So here we have said like we can better use the word clients. So we have just given a red color mark. You can see where patient is being struck out, and but if the publishers, if they are clicking it and they are seeing, they'll be able to visualize it. It is a client. So it is everything is through online and through an Adobe PDF. It's been done. It is very clear and visual for the publisher end. Since I have taken a screenshot here, when I click, you're not able to see, but to the other end, those people will be able to see their softwares. So proofreading we have to do like this. After proofreading, our content will be sent to the reviewers. Next slide, please. So the reviewers, sometimes the publishers will be asking us from us itself whom you want your books to review. So we can give the reviewer's name. I would suggest you give strongly a person who is going to give a very critical suggestions for your book, because just mere giving your friends just to through your books will not satisfy. Maybe that will be temporarily satisfying you, but to the other end, for the students to use it, you should have a very strong constructive criticizer or a suggestion who is from the reviewer end, because those reviewers are the one like the reviewers will be the best one to tell us what would be the expectation of the students. So better you give the name of the person who will be really giving you a constructive criticism or a reviews. So this is the book review form. Actually, this is an online review form that which I have done. So you also will be getting a format for that. This is all about nursing care of blood and endocrine disorders is the book name. And chapter name is the blood disorders, which is affecting the red blood cells. And chapter number 3. And you can here see the columns being charted, like whether the topic of this chapter is relevant, where they have given an option as poor, average, good, or very good. If it is good, you put good. If you feel that it is average, you put it as average. Whatever is the reviewer point of view you feel, you can put it. You have to look at the content of the book, because the author will be masked sometimes. If the publishers are asking for the reviewers, it is not necessary that our content will be going to the same reviewers whom the contact number we have given. It sometimes goes to somebody else also. So it is blinded. The author will be blinded sometimes. Just they will be going through the content and we have to give the suggestions. So this is how we will get the suggestions for our book. So before the book is being printed, our book will go for editing. Our draft reading will be there. Proofreading will be there. After proofreading, it goes for the reviewers of plagiarism checkers. Plagiarism also will be checked. After the plagiarism check, it goes for the reviewers. So the reviewers also will go through. So these many Next slide, please. Yeah. So here is the example of how our content is uploaded. Like we are preparing the content, right? The chapters. So the Elsevier is having an EMSS portal, that is an electronic manuscript submission system. Next slide, please. Every author will be given an login and password. And you can see that green color arrow mark. So if we want to, that they say it is TOC, it is a table of content. So the first step is that we have to upload the table of contents. So the table of contents means that it is nothing but the units or the chapters. So in one book, how many units we want, how many chapters we want. So the table of content has to be uploaded. Next slide, please. And for each table of content, you also can see, like in the red, management of patients with respiratory problems. Just beneath, you can see the two authors' name. One is Malarvizhi S, another one is Renuka Guggar. Just adjacent, you can see there is a deadline, 30th of November 2022. That is the due date. We should have submitted the book by 30th of November 2022. But when was the date being submitted? The content was submitted by 27th of October 2022. This side, the green color, right? So everything, we have a clear cut schedule and a plan that will give us a shape, and that will give us a guidance to complete our book in a successful manner. Next slide, please. So after we do all the submission of the chapters, then finally we have to give a click of save and submit, and all our contents will be reaching. Next slide, please. All our content will reach to the publisher's end. That's how we upload our content to the Elsevier. And of course, every book there will be a cover page. So in the cover page, we also will give details about the books, like what is the need of this book, for whom this book is meant for, what is the salient future of this book, like 4 to 8 key features we give them for the readers, and about the authors also sometimes we can see some 3 to 4 sentences about them. So last page of the book is always the salient features about our book and about the authors. You can see in almost all the books. Next slide, please. Coming to the author guidelines. Like author guidelines, when we say first, we should first chart it down, like total number of units, how many unit chapters are there. For each chapter, how many pages I should allot. Maybe like every chapter should be there of minimum of 20 to 25 pages. It should be Times Roman. It should be 1.5 spacing. So we should have a clear cut guidelines about as how we should proceed our book for getting ready. So maybe 12 font size. And coming to the reference also, the in-text citations and reference must follow either APA style. APA also, we have to be very clear whether it is 7th edition or do we want to go with Vancouver style. So suppose if we are putting DOI, then we have to also include DOI for all reference. Then we also ensure that all the references are taken from the literature of the last 5 to 10 years, and the reference must be cited only from the indexed databases, and we should avoid repetition and replication of already published similar data. And photographs or pictures should not be used from the internet sources. If used, then we should get a copyright clearance certificate should be obtained from the respective authorities with payment as required. Or if photos are used from personal sources, then the consent and courtesy should be obtained. And the photo should be supported with TIFF or JPG format with 330 dpi resolution. Suppose if we are using any drugs, names are being used, then the generic name of the drug and the company of the production must be added. So like that, like say for example, chapters, every chapter we can have the name of the author, their qualification, designation, application details, their ARCID numbers if they do have, or any of the keywords that we want to have include, or introduction, key sub themes, or conclusion at the end, all can be in the APA reference style. So every chapter we can frame as how we want it. Then we also can have the deadlines, like when we should submit the first draft, second draft, and the third draft. And we also should always keep in mind that the plagiarism checking should be done. Like for every chapter, it is only 2% or a nutshell they take granted, give the permission. Some authors give for 5%. So depending on the, not the authors, the publishers. So depending on the publishers, the plagiarism checking also has to be clearly be done. So these are the some of the guidelines for the authors. Next slide, please. Next is about self-publishing. For the self-publishing, the content preparation for the traditional publishing and for the self-publishing is almost the same, but it's only the rest of the aspect it differs. Self-publishing, like most of the time, like book distributors, either directly we can put it for a sale, or we can also use the aggregators. So these aggregators also will help us to bring the books into the market for the self-publishing people. There are different platforms through which we can also send our books for sales, like Amazon, KDP, like Kindle Direct Publishings. It is free to upload, and we also get 70% royalty for every book that's been priced. Apple Books is the another platform, which is also free to upload. Barnes and Noble Press is which is free to upload, and Rakuten Kobo, which is also free to upload. Almost these people give 70% royalty. Next slide, please. And we have draft to digital. This draft to digital, actually the advantage of this, it is one of the aggregator. Like aggregator means, we can say this, the draft to digital service offers a simple way to directly sell the ebooks with almost every major retailers, like Amazon, Kobo, Apple Books. So once if you give it to these people, they bring it up to the rest of the distributors. So they take up the responsibility. Then of course we do have Smashwords, Publish Drive, Street Light, Zinzi. Next slide, please. Apart from that, suppose as an author service for self-publishing authors, like if there is a concern that is related to editing, designing, and formatting of your, because we are not all very familiar with designs, softwares, or editing. In such a case that you want the help of those people, then the following platform help us, like RDC, KDP Print, Ingram Spark, Blur, Bookbay. This book baby is also available in our Google Play Store. Then Redisi Discovery, BookBab, Written Word Media. These are some of the platforms which also help us in editing and taking designs and formatting for our books. So those kind of help also these platforms help us. So coming to conclude for today's session, we all know that a book is a written work that is published as printed pages fastened together inside the cover. And before we become an author of a book, first, whenever you get an opportunity, review a book. Be a book reviewer, either a chapter or a part of a chapter. So book reviewer is a first step. And next, you can take up a role of being a chapter contribution. Just one chapter, you can write it, or a part of a chapter. Then you can become a co-author, maybe 5 to 10 units or chapters you can take, be a co-author. Then become an individual author. And also you can start with a small level, like with regional, state, national publishers, because those things will give us an experience which will help us to do in a well better way with the international publishers. Then we can climb up to the international level collaborations. So the next slide. So your take-home message would be, next slide, please. Yeah. Today we are all readers, okay, but tomorrow we all can become an authors. So that is our take-home message. Thank you.